Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Sacred Exchange, where souls meet, hearts transform, and love leads the way. I'm Catherine.
And I'm John.
And we are here this week to chat about the expression of self and honoring your truth and all of, like, everything that's kind of mixed up in the energy of expression.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, we're going to talk about expression, but there's so many things we can talk about when it comes to expression. And, there's different perspectives of expression, how you express yourself, which ways you express yourself, So there's a lot to talk about.
Yes.
To expression.
Yes. And it's been an interesting week when it came to expressing the self. And for myself, I was going through a challenge, we'll call it, in honoring my truth while also honoring the perspective of other people that were very much against or unable to see, perhaps would be a better way to put it, what my perspective of the truth is or was.
Yeah, and I mean, your expression of any situation is your truth.
Exactly.
Right? You're expressing your truth of what the situation is, and that is, again, your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of tricky because we all want to think that, if I express myself and honestly express myself, that it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not, right? It's sometimes when we express ourselves in the most honorable way we think possible and truthful, sometimes people have a different opinion of that situation or of what you're trying to express.
Yeah, and I mean, you can start even before you get to kind of like the honorable truth and really meeting all parts of you with light and with love and with compassion and whatnot. Because there's been plenty of times in my life where it's like I'm speaking my truth, but my truth was like fueled by anger, or my truth was fueled by fear, or my truth was fueled by grief, or whatever it might be. And so even though I was speaking my truth, because it was being fueled by all of these emotions that were running through me, it's like the truth just gets kind of diluted in there.
Well, I still think it's your truth in that moment, right?
It is.
If you're fueled by anger or whatever and you're expressing your anger, you're still expressing your truth because you're angry.
Yes.
The whole backstory to that may be, not I don't want to say not relevant, but it may be blown out of proportion, I guess.
Well, absolutely, because you're in that triggered kind of space, and then you're thinking this is the most absolute truth that I have. But just to use anger as an example, if I'm expressing my truth through anger and I'm just lashing out at you and I'm having this big explosion because you didn't do the dishes last night or whatever it might be, there's so many other unmet needs that are not anything to do with the dishes, right? So I find the dishes and I go, that's the thing.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, this is the thing that I'm going to like lash out at you on because I'm angry because you don't meet my needs, you don't follow through, you don't keep these promises, whatever it might be. And all of those, that's a little bit deeper to the truth.
Yeah.
But what is the unmet need underneath that is maybe I'm just feeling overwhelmed with everything that I have to get done. So now the dishes not being done is one more thing to add. And then underneath that overwhelm, it might actually be, I'm not asking you for what I need.
Which is a good point, right? Like that we can express ourselves, or that expression can come out at a certain time in a certain way that is really not the truth.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, the underlying truth of all this is you didn't meet this expectation. And I've started keeping a scorecard. And now it's, you're at 10 and now it's time for me to blow up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to express it when...
Yeah, and then we go, why aren't they listening to me? I'm speaking my truth, because that's like in a lot of spiritual communities and psychology and everything, they talk about speaking your truth.
Yeah.
And there is so much truth in just that you need to express your truth and speak your truth. But I think there needs to be more education around what version of the truth are you actually expressing. Because for myself, I used to think, well, if I speak my truth, then they should listen because this is my truth. And yeah, okay, in an ideal world, people will listen to the truth. But if I've got this kind of filter of anger that's coming through my words, then why would anybody actually want to listen to that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm in a fearful spot, or if I'm in a very grieving spot or a judgmental spot or whatever, it's not anyone else's responsibility to meet my unmet needs or to meet these kind of lower vibrational emotions that I've got coming up. It's up to me to meet those and understand what is actually underneath that.
Yeah.
And then in that, because I think, like when we talk about having conscious communication, I can say to you, hey, I'm angry, and there's this part of me that's doing this, and there's this part of me that's feeling this way or whatever, but what's actually underneath that is this is something that happened when I was a kid, and this is what it made me believe, and this is da-da-da-da-da. And so that's where it's like, this is the actual truth. This is how all of this got built up inside of me and how I'm seeing this right now. And through that, I think there comes more understanding, because I'm not looking at you and going, you need to fix how I feel right now. It's, these are all the things that I'm feeling. I'm taking full responsibility for everything that I'm feeling. I'm going to meet these needs within myself, and I want to share this truth with you because I want you to understand me. Yeah.
And I think that's a good point that you bring up, that, you know, understanding the building blocks or the dominoes or whatever you want to call it to how you get to a certain expectation or a certain opinion or of whatever, right? And understanding that within yourself before you do express whatever you're wanting to express.
Yeah, because if you don't know, like if you've just got like anger that's showing up and you're like, ah, you know, and because that's kind of how it comes through. It's just like this projectile vomit. For the other person to receive that, unless they've done a lot of work, they're often just going to get like defensive. And like then it becomes this kind of attack thing or whatever.
Tit for tat, back and forth.
Yeah. And then communication isn't even happening. Nobody's listening.
No, then it's just a race, right? Who can be more offensive, or who can get their point across better, or who's more right. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like the times that I've said, you know, you're not even listening to me, right? Often, from my perspective now, it's if I feel someone else is not listening to me, then I have to ask myself, where am I not listening to myself? What part of myself am I not understanding that's reacting in this right now, to this right now? Because I can actually meet all of those needs by myself.
Yeah, and I do a very similar thing where it's like I ask that same questions and like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Why, you know, and why are you not understanding what I'm trying to communicate? Is there a different way? Is my approach wrong? Do I need to shift my perspective of this situation to like not make you understand, but make my communication clearer as to what I'm trying to talk about?
Yeah. And often I find it's like, if I'm not understanding what you're saying, right? And it's been so interesting because we've had so many conversations where we're literally saying the exact same thing.
We're arguing about the same point.
Yes. And I mean, I've got a piece of paper here. I'm going to actually draw an example of, it was an argument not even an argument, but a debate that we had probably, I don't know, 8 months ago or something like that. But I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I'm drawing it.
And what it was very interesting because we were both very like hard on our, like stuck to our conviction of what our story was, right? This is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't that deep in like an emotional sense. It wasn't like our relationship was on the line or anything like that. No. We were talking about some sort of quantum physics stuff. Yeah. And I was seeing it in my mind, I don't even know if the camera can catch that. Whoops.
Here.
Yep. No. There we go. Okay. So I was seeing it in my mind from like the top perspective of like these things, these lines, and he was seeing it from more of a rounded perspective, and both are true.
Yeah.
Like it was literally like, oh, we're both correct on this. We're just seeing it from a completely different point of view, and it wasn't until we actually drew it out.
Yes.
That we showed each other, and it was like, oh,
it's that perspective, right? It's like. When you think of geometry and perspective, like that terminology where it's like, okay, a triangle looks like this, but from an aerial view, a triangle looks very much different than from the side view. And that's what we were debating, but it was like, it was something else, but it's like, I see it this way, and you were like, well, I see it this way.
Yeah. And just kind of going back and forth for probably 10 or 15 minutes but like, do you understand though? Like it would be like this, and he's going, but no, but do you understand? It would actually be like this, and just going back and forth. And then it was when we actually drew it out that it was like, oh. Yeah,
it was like an aha moment. We both kind of looked at each other like, do you see what's going on here?
Yeah, and then it was like, it's so cool because then it's like, oh, there's two perspectives that are like that we actually get to witness when we have this clear communication with each other, when we're willing to be wrong, to try and see it from another person's point of view, to go like, okay, so show me what you're trying to draw here, and I'll show you what I'm trying to draw, and then in that it allowed for understanding to happen.
Yeah, and I don't think we were trying to argue who was right or wrong.
No. It was just like, I need you to understand me. Because to me, what I was seeing and what I was understanding was like, those like mind-blowing moments where you're like, oh my God, I feel like the smartest person in the room. And so I wanted him to have a taste of this kind of geniusness that was coming through me. And I think you were feeling the same way, where it was like this complete clarity. And
just from a different perspective.
It was just from a different perspective.
The same,
Yeah,
and it is something I don't think we pay enough attention to. Like, people expressing themselves, yes, we do. But I don't think we really inquire about that expression deeper than we do, right? Like, somebody will create a painting and, oh, well, what is this? We don't say, somebody created a painting or created a song. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
What was your experience while you were doing this? This is your expression of your, to me, art is very much that expression of that divine self.
Yeah.
How it comes out, how it lands on, or comes out of your mouth, or whatever the case may be. I think it is one of those almost absolute truths.
Yeah.
Because you're not, when I paint anyways, I try not to think about painting.
Yeah.
I just try to express myself.
Yeah.
And how that lands on the canvas, that's how it lands.
Yeah.
But nobody has ever asked me, I had people question, oh, what were you trying to draw or paint or whatever?
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me, how are you feeling?
Interesting. Because it's a lot of times emotions actually fuel the creative expression.
Yeah. And I can see the differences in some of my paintings of where I was at in my life, so I can understand, okay, this is what I was expressing, or, this wasn't what I was trying to express.
Yeah.
And this is how it came out. But
yeah, I feel the same way, like with my own paintings that are in my office. Like when and I haven't done a lot of paintings, it's just something that I've kind of dabbled in here and there, and hoping to do a bit of today. But when I look at the first one that I think I made in like January of 2024, right? And it's okay, but I can see, like, I didn't even have the clarity in painting. It was whatever. I was just expressing, and it's fine. But then as the months went on and I started painting more things and getting more clear within myself, it was like I was able to take from my mind what I wanted to and get it on to the canvases. And each painting, when I look at it, I can embody more of that feeling that I was having at that time. And it's so interesting because I think expressing yourself, it does take practice, right? And it does take almost trusting yourself in what you're trying to express. You've got a different thought.
Well, yeah, because I, as I just said, I think expression doesn't take practice. Expression takes that vulnerability, right? It takes the removal of practice. Just do it.
Okay.
Just however it lands is as perfect as it needs to be. We judge, this painting or this, what this looks like or whatever, but it's like, that's somebody's expression.
Right.
That is their emotion.
Yeah.
That is that whatever that's here.
Yeah.
Going down on there or out of here, and
yeah.
And I know we've talked about it before about people judging other people's expression and whether things are good, bad, or indifferent. It's like, yeah, we really shouldn't. But next time you're in with somebody who's creating art or has created art, maybe ask them that question. How are you feeling when you created this?
Yeah.
What were you what is your expression of it? What is this expressing? Yeah. You can draw a lovely, beautiful landscape. I'm more abstract, right? So it kind of, you get to choose your own adventure. But if you're doing a landscape, if you're doing realism or something like that, there's still that expression there.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're talking about like people judging other people's expression and whatnot, it's so interesting because expression to me, it's like, yeah, there's that creative expression. We can draw and we can paint and we can make music and whatnot. That's all expression. Yeah. But also just how we show up in the world. Absolutely. Right? Our sexual expression, our emotional expression, our professional expression, like all of it is, and we all get judged for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even like our physical expression, how our body shows up in this world is also judged. Our gender expression, it's judged.
Yeah, I would be more accepting of questioning versus judging. Like if somebody asked me, whether it was business, personal, whatever the case may be, and I'm taking a stance or I've said something, I would rather somebody ask me, hey, how did you, why is this your perspective? Why are you expressing yourself this way versus, well, that's not very professional, or that's, I would much rather have them ask me the question.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people come to the thought of actually questioning what would get someone to this expression. I really don't.
No, but we're quick to judge, right?
Here's the thing, and that's just it.
Take that 2 seconds and go, okay, maybe it's worth a question versus a judgment.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all been taught in very innocent stages of our lives. We've all been taught to judge everything, every expression. Even the kindergarten student whose teacher doesn't like their drawing that they did, or classmates in school not liking the clothes that you wear, or whatever it might be. There's always been judgment around expression. And they say that the most, the highest vibrating kind of energy that you can be in is your authenticity, right? And most of us, and you and I even experienced this when we started this podcast, where it was like we were trying to be as authentic as possible, and just simply looking at the camera just created this kind of distortion of we can't be authentic in our connection with each other, to be able to have an authentic conversation because it's being recorded. And if authenticity is the highest vibration, then it's like you have to give yourself that permission to express yourself regardless as to what those judgments are going to be from everybody else. And that's a hard step to take.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you were saying about standing in your truth, right?
Yeah.
Is you have to have the spine, have the backbone, have the power to stand in your truth.
Yeah.
And be prepared to have it whatever. Like I mean, there's, you could look at it from 100 different perspectives, and you're going to face all of them.
Yeah, exactly. And
but remain in your truth.
Yeah, right? It's that willingness to be like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be able to honor who I am in this lifetime, in this relationship, in whatever it is that's coming up. Like, am I being authentic with myself? Mm-hmm. Is this my truest values that are coming through? Are my words matching my actions? Are my actions matching my intentions? Yeah. And I think it can be very terrifying to do that.
Well, and I think that's where you see a lot of people that don't or have regrets about not expressing themselves, right? Yeah. There's the other side of that is the anxiety piece of expressing yourself and being vulnerable.
Yeah. Because we've witnessed, throughout history, the person who's, being authentic and they don't match the rest of the tribe that's around them, and then they're kicked out of that tribe because they're too different. Yeah. We want everyone to be the same and kind of conform to a set of rules created by a society or whatever. And it's really hard to move in that space. And so giving yourself that permission, and it's interesting because I cut ties. That's what I do, where it's like, okay, I've got to break free from this limited experience, so I can show up authentically.
And we've seen some of that definitely play out in the media, social media, whatever, this year, where it's people that I'm going to say on a face value are expressing their truth. Yeah. And are no longer here, or kicked out of the club, or are canceled, or whatever the case may be. But we've seen it. We've seen a lot of it this year.
Yeah. It's just become like a growing trend, right? Which I think in many ways helps to propel that fear in people's minds about, if I'm authentic, if I express my truth, if I stand alone and, that I hold on to this belief that I have because this is the most honorable belief that I have, I might, get hurt. I might be canceled. It's that persecution imprint that goes back throughout history. Like, we always, as a humanity, we've always done this to people. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I do believe that each of us is here to experience the world and then express our own divinity out into the world to create the world to be a better place.
I agree.
And so when we try and limit people and tell people that expression of you is not acceptable, or that's not okay, or whatever, I think it just really brings in those limitations for people and makes us, again, conform to this kind of box or make ourselves smaller.
Yeah. I agree. And that it is sad that people want to silence others' expression of whatever that is. Don't get me wrong. There are some people that have some whatever distorted lives and distorted messages. Yeah. They're still expressing themselves. I'm not going to pass judgment, or wouldn't want to pass judgment on how they're doing it. Would I agree with it? No, I would just go and move on. Yeah. I'm certainly not going to, start a petition to stop them from doing whatever they're doing. Yeah. If it's going to hurt somebody, like if immediately...
Well, it's interesting, right? Because you can feel in your own mind, going, well... if they were saying this, maybe...
Yeah, but if they're saying things, that's one thing. Doing things and acting are another thing, right? Yeah. But, we have to take it both ways. We can't just sit here and be a culture of, if we express all these good things, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
We have to accept that people are going to express
Everything.
bad things. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Everything.
that it's all acceptable.
Yeah.
And I think too, like when we do see someone that is expressing something that we're like a hard no against, it's an opportunity for us to go within ourselves and go, what about me is so against this? And especially if you're very triggered, right? And if you're like very like, they need to stop and this isn't acceptable and because then we're actually disconnecting from our own truth of being loving and accepting and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to go, well, what in me is actually getting fired up right now? You know, and especially if I'm so threatened by someone else's expression of who they are, what in me is so against that? Because we're all divine.
Yeah.
Right? And in that divinity, sometimes it absolutely gets distorted where our actions are like, that's not necessarily the most divine action to take right now. But, you know, it's still an expression of a part of you.
Yeah. And I agree. If somebody's message, expression, conversation, whatever, is having the effect that on you of, you know, this is killing me or this is hurting me, it is absolutely an invitation for you to look into yourself and go, but it, you know, it's not like, but what is it that is, why is it this way?
Yeah.
Not put it back on the person, but look internal and go, okay, and maybe just have that moment where it's like, stop and say, okay, in your mind, this is not hurting me.
Yeah.
But what is it doing? Why does it feel like it's hurting me?
Yeah.
And even try to express that to the person, you know, like this, whatever this expression is having this effect on me. I don't know why, but this is where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think it's funny, we were talking about expression and we've had some events in the last little while where it's like we're expressing more things where we almost feel like it's silly things that we're expressing, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't want to leave this world without expressing these things, and it's all part of that clear communication and conscious communication where it's like, if I don't tell you everything, there's still stuff that leaves it up to not your perspective, but there's still some like, okay, well, mystery or whatever behind that. So
yeah, I would agree. And I mean, you got to experience that last night where we had gone to Costco and there was two things one thing he expressed to me, one thing he did not express to me. The one thing that he had expressed to me, he was like, I just need you to know, this is this thing that's coming up for me right now, whatever. And it was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I have nothing to hide.
Okay.
I was having troubles remembering names, and not immediate names of people that I work with or close family or anything like that, just names of people that I feel I should know.
Yeah.
But it's been happening more often.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just want you to know this. I'm not overly concerned, but it is a pattern that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
That
so that's what he expressed to me, because he's seen someone from his workplace and couldn't remember the person's name for the life of him. He was just like, I work with that guy.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And then a little bit later, we're still in Costco, as one is.
Costco on a Friday. Okay, so.
Yeah. And we were walking, I guess, into a new aisle, and then you saw someone else from your workplace that is a newer employee at your workplace, and I've heard a lot about this person, and I know that you've created a really good kind of rapport with this person, and so we got to meet and do, like, you know, the introductions and hello, this is my wife and da da da. And then as we walked away from that, he told me that as we were walking into Costco, he had the thought of, I really wish that she could meet this person someday because of this good rapport that they have. So I got to experience what your desire
non-expression
was.
and expression, right?
Yeah. So, perhaps in that way, like maybe when we have those like little wishes, like I'm like, was that enough to just set that seed so that expression could come forward, right? I don't know.
Yeah. It was definitely very interesting because, here you're sitting at one point going, man, I should have said something, because then, not that I need to, but then it would have been just affirming, right? It would have been like, I said this when we came in, and then boom, it happened.
Yes.
And the other side of that was, I'm just going to tell you this because I want you to know.
Yeah.
Because I want you to know everything, really. But
yeah. And I mean, when it comes to I want you to know everything, because we had a conversation about this, I want to say on Tuesday night, of how open you've been to my expression through the years.
Yeah.
And just how grateful I am that you've met all of these different expressions of me, all of these different callings of mine, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything. And you've always met it with so much love and so much understanding. Not 100% of the time. Sometimes I think you're like, oh my God. As a person is sometimes, when you're dealing in relationships and stuff. But it's in that, I feel like I don't have to hide who I am in your presence, and I think in all relationships, especially like when you first start, I go back to the first time you farted in front of me and I was sleeping. Yes, but I have been sleeping, and he got up for work, and as he was going up the stairs, because we were sleeping in the basement, 2 little farts came out, and he was like, excuse me, and he was very like quiet about it, I guess, and I'd never heard you fart, and it's the silliest thing, but it's like you don't really know if you love someone until you fart in front of them. Do you know what I mean? And like to be able to be that kind of gross in front of someone is, it's accepting that full humanness that they have. So yeah, to me this week it was very highlighted that you've never actually bashed me for any of my expression, and even when you don't understand it, there's that curiosity to know more or to understand more, and there's never been like that threat of, this relationship is done if you express this part of yourself or anything like that. So for me, that was very healing this week, to experience that and to go, wow, I can be loved in my fullest expression.
Well, and as I said before, I think we just mirror those things, right? Like, not that I don't have my own. I'm fully accepting of and want to know, like, I'm very much about that whole, root cause.
Yeah.
Why is this way? So, but you do the same. Yeah. And that's the thing that I find is really amazing is it's like going back to these building blocks. You say, you've never, but you never either.
Yeah.
So then it's you never, and we just keep building and building and building.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably parts in our lives that we weren't, it wasn't safe to express ourselves, or wasn't safe to have open conversation. It wasn't safe to have hard conversations. It would be, even within our relationship, there was times where it wasn't safe to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
But we've worked through that.
Yeah.
And together we can express ourselves openly and freely. And we just, I think communicating these little bits of information is just clarifying that expression. Mm-hmm. So that you don't have a doubt of, what were you thinking there? Or what was...
Well, and to be okay with answering those questions too. If that question does pop up, because I know I've done that. Like, when you said that, did you mean this? Because that's what I heard. And it's so interesting because as we talk about expression, expression is also what are you receiving, right? Like how are you hearing things? How are you taking things? Because we can create an entire story in our minds based on one word that had a different affliction to it, or
you could be expressing one thing, and my perspective of what you're expressing could be based off of my past.
Yeah.
And now I'm interpreting your expression as an attack, but I'm looking at it from a perspective of somebody else that had nothing to do with whatever this is.
Yeah.
And that's just your expression.
Yeah. Where if I was that one expressing and then you're feeling attacked or you're feeling whatever way because of this expression that I have, it's like there's that communication breakdown then that's happening. And then my reflection, how most of us take it in, is see, I can't express myself.
Very right. Yeah.
Because look at the way they react every time I express myself.
Or you don't understand, or...
Yeah, I'm always misunderstood.
I mean, there is a piece there that is, I would say, correct. You don't understand. I don't understand because my perspective of this is not coming from you. It's coming from my past.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't understand you because I'm still trying to deal with this.
Yes, you're not even in this moment.
Right?
You're connected to something in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is so important as to why we have to get curious with ourselves, especially with these triggers and stuff that come up within us. Is like, am I reacting to something from the past that is interacting or interfering with this current situation, or am I actually being in this present moment?
Yeah.
They always talk about like be in the present moment, and we might go, yeah, I am in the present moment. It is 11:37 a.m. This is the present moment. But if I've got all of this energy that's connected to stuff in the past that I'm just still carrying around with me and whatnot, I'm not actually in this present moment.
Yeah.
I've got many different versions of me kind of trailing behind, some stuck back in 1983 or whatever. And it's like, no, you come to the present moment too.
Yeah.
I seen a meme on Facebook this morning that said something along the lines of, I don't quite remember how it went, but essentially that sometimes when you're interacting with someone in relationship, that you might be dealing with a 10-year-old version of them that just needs to be loved.
Yeah.
That, even though you're a full-grown man across from me, that sometimes it's not always the full-grown man that's actually showing up.
Yeah.
There might be the 5-year-old or the 6-year-old or whatever that has been abandoned or hasn't been heard or hasn't been understood, that is showing up, and you might not even be aware of it, right? That's the big thing, is a lot of times when those ego parts come up or those wounded parts come up, one and the same, we're often not aware, right? Like it's like it just takes over and it's this whole identity. And if you're curious enough, I think, with your partner or whoever you're in that relationship dynamic is, to understand or see like what wounded part is actually showing up in this person and what are they truly needing to hear. It's kind of like in Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams is like to Matt Damon, like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And he just keeps repeating it until Matt Damon kind of breaks down and is able to receive that it's not his fault. So
and I think I know we've experienced this. I know I've experienced with other people and family and whatnot, and friends and colleagues as well, where you can sense that, you can feel it in your body when somebody is in
an ego dynamic,
whatever, like when they just need a hug or they just need some motivation, they just need that little piece, that little push or whatever it is. Not always, but there's definitely times where you can
Well, and I think for a lot of people, because a lot of people get really sensitive to different energies. I'm one of those people who's very sensitive to different energies. And essentially what that is someone with distorted energy being in the presence of someone who, has a calming energy or whatever. Yeah. The person will pick up on that and they'll go like, ugh, they've got bad energy or whatever. And it's like, it's not bad energy. It's just there's a wounded energy that's very present in this person right now.
Yeah.
And if you're really resisting it, or you're feeling drained by it, or you're feeling kind of bombarded by it, to me, it's an opportunity to ask yourself, what in me is resonating at that frequency? Because if you're like fully grounded in your truth and your, just staying in your authenticity, it doesn't actually matter how anybody else is showing up, that you can just be kind of that solidness of who you are.
Yeah, all of that other stuff just kind of bounces off, right? It's just like, no, I am. And we talked about this a little bit this week too, is, I noticed a number of different people that have been, I'll say, in bad moods, right? Where, and it's kind of been everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not, there'd be a time where I would placate to that and be, or not that I don't care, but I'm not participating. And that's my choice, right? It is, I can see that you're in this mood, and yes, I could offer some condolence, or I could offer help or whatever.
Yeah.
But at some points, we gotta take care of ourselves and just be like, I'm not doing this. You need to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that I don't care. It's not that I just know that this is part of your journey to figure out this piece. And I don't want to interrupt that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think it's so valid for you to bring that up, because a lot of times when it is a kind of ego part or a wounded part or whatever, you could show up, like the person could say, all I need is a crystal, and you show up and you give them a crystal and they're like, that's not the crystal I want, like that's not the solution, because the ego is like, don't give me a solution, help me feed my problem. And that's when I really know, like when I'm working with clients and stuff, if there's a lot of resistance that's coming up to every kind of reach out that I have to them to go, hey, have you thought about this? Well, that won't work because of, and that can't be real because of, and whatnot. And it's just like, okay, so we've got a lot of kind of ego parts that are showing up right now, or wounded parts, and they're in resistance to this change.
Yeah, there was a meme or something that I seen earlier about how the brain will make a problem.
Yes.
Right? Like, even when there's no problem, you will make a problem of nothing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, this is now a problem just because it needs to be entertained.
Yes.
And you think about all these little situations where it's like, yeah, this is not that big of a deal, or whatever the case may be, but you could take something, that whole old saying, making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, this is a problem.
Yeah.
No, this is the end of my existence because there's no coffee left. Or
Well, I mean, the brain, its sole purpose is to help us survive, right? And it wants problems to find solutions to, so that it has purpose. Right? And so if you're kind of leaving your brain to run on its own and figure out what problems it wants to create so it can come up with solutions to the problems that it just created, you might actually get yourself in a kind of terrifying fear, because if there's no real evidence of a problem around you, your brain might just go, okay,
we'll make a problem.
We'll create a scenario in your mind that may not happen, but let's find all the solutions that we can to this scenario that may not happen. And so it will find solutions. And when we were in the mentorship with Kyle Cease, and he had us do the 100 possibilities, it was essentially writing a list of 100 things that you wanted to have happen in your life, 100 possibilities. And essentially, it's really hard at first to write down, like, what are 100 possibilities that you want to kind of call into your life. But what it's doing with your mind is actually teaching your mind to look for solutions to things that you actually want to draw in. So the mind starts going, oh, that and that and that and that, and oh, I'll have to do this and I'll have to do this. And when I was doing that 100 possibilities, I was getting so fueled by so many different ideas, and there's still ideas, and I'm like, I still have to do something with that. And I found myself, the more I was doing those lists, because I think I did it for 72 days straight. So I came up with 7,200 possibilities. And some of them were repeats of other possibilities I had already written down. But I'd be going through the day, and it was like, oh, well, that's possible, and that's possible, and that's possible. Where prior to that, it was like, well, I don't know how to do that, right? Yeah. So there's such a difference between, oh, that's possible, and I don't know how to do that. Yeah. You know, because the brain, it's going to look for solutions. But if you go, I don't know how, then the brain's like, oh, we got to freak out now. Yeah. We don't know how.
We'll figure it out.
And then it becomes harder and harder and harder to try and figure out, how do I do this?
Yeah.
You know, and it's not up to us to figure out how. That's one of my big lessons that I've learned in this life, is it's not up to me to figure out how. I just need to show up.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's how will play itself out. You have to be willing, and we talked about this last week, that willingness, right?
Yeah.
Is just be willing to be that participant. Be willing to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be tied to this expression or this version or that version. Be willing to accept all versions and all expressions.
Yeah. And to not see any of them as less than divine or more divine, right? Like, I think... And I've gotten caught up in it, which is why I feel like I can speak to it, is there's been so many times where it's like, well, how could this be a part of God's plan? How could this be a part of the divine? Like, this doesn't even make sense. And it's like, well, if it's showing up, it has to be a part of the plan in some way.
Yeah.
So I had to start losing my own positionalities of what I thought it was supposed to look like. Because in my mind, it was like, God is just like love and, you know, lollipops and rainbows and bubblegum and butterflies and like all the beautiful things of life is like, this is God's energy.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, no, he created wasps too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And wasps actually have a beautiful purpose. And so do mosquitoes. Like, everything has a beautiful purpose, which means all expressions of people is a part of that purpose. Just sometimes I feel like, because it's like my anger served a purpose for a period of time.
Yeah.
But I don't need to be operated by my anger anymore.
Yeah.
I still have access to it.
Yeah.
I can still grab hold of it if it's needed in that example, but I don't need to let it run me.
No.
You know? And I guess that's part of that transformation as well, of the expression, where it's like, okay, so I have to express this part of me, but once I've expressed it or I've experienced it or whatever, I can choose to go back to that and grab hold of it if I want to, but I don't need to necessarily just be that because I was once this thing.
Yeah, then again, it goes back to that willingness to almost be like that liquid, right? It's express yourself, but you don't always have to express yourself the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's like, if we're not locked in rock or anything like here that says it has to be this way always and forever.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the struggles a lot of people go through, is like, if I express this, then there's no going back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that I just had a light go off where it's like, you know, you hear people say this saying, right? Well, you've changed.
Yes.
Yes, of course. That is part, you know, if I didn't change, then that should be where we're going, okay, there's a problem.
You know, I've got actually...
not a problem, but why don't you want to evolve? Why don't you want to change?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I've got 2 examples of that in like 2 totally different ways. And I know you've read my book. And there was one experience that I had shortly after my father had died. I'd lost a pregnancy, kicked out of the home, going through cancer treatment. Like, there's a lot of things that had gone on. Yeah. And my boyfriend at the time, we got into an argument, and he screamed at me, "You've changed." And I was like, of course I've changed. My dad died. I lost this pregnancy. I'm going through chemo. I got kicked out of my house. Like, I've changed. Everything in my life has changed. But it felt like such an attack because I couldn't stay the same person that I was before life kind of blew up. And it was, to me at the time, it was like, how can you not understand? Like, obviously I've changed, whatever. Yeah. But then feeling bad on myself because I had changed, but also, yeah. And then when I started the Compassion Key journey, and you were at your dad's for the week in the summertime with your brother and whatnot, and I was going through a bunch of the classes that week and having a lot of different like one-on-one sessions and stuff. I think it was in like the bridging between the light workers and the master's program. And you said to me, well, don't change too much. And I was like, and it took me back to that moment of you've changed. But then when you got home and I was like, am I changing too fast for you or whatever? Like, do I need to try and stay back here? And you were like, no, I love how much you're changing and I love how much you're shifting, but I also accept you exactly as you are right now.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of moment of realization or that moment of permission, really, that you can change. And I'm seeing this beautiful kind of metamorphosis that's happening within you, but also I accept you exactly as you are right now. And there's a beauty in that, because in that first experience, there was nothing saying this part of you is lovable.
Yeah.
That this part of you I can accept. It's, I want you to go back to this old version of you. Well, because it was easier to handle.
And to me, it's kind of an invitation too, right? It is an invitation for that person to up their bar, but like, you've changed.
Yeah.
Okay, why haven't I changed?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to start looking as to why didn't I change?
Yeah.
If you changed so much because you had all these, and don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to be these, like on the one example, that are very
we don't
hard,
need a tower moment.
Yeah, they're very difficult situations. You don't need to have those.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to happen, but I'm saying it doesn't absolutely have to be that way. It can be good things that change your way you express yourself as well.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up a good point, because when we're in relationship with people, what a lot of people don't realize is like we're connected on like these frequencies, right? And so when people start to change, that frequency also starts to change. Yep. And so one person might be, kind of changing and going through some things and they're elevating themselves, and the other person might stay kind of back here. And if this person doesn't take an opportunity to kind of move up, we can actually start to create a lot of distance within relationships where it's like, then this person just kind of naturally falls off because they can no longer actually be on that same frequency alignment with a person. So. Yeah,
and, and the other example about, don't change too much. I think that is just, it's another example of, don't leave me behind.
Yeah.
But then it's an invitation. Okay, I need to raise myself, right? And I think within the last, I'd say 1 or 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years, through our whole relationship, we're always doing that one up, like
kind of in competition with each other, but
your
not
work,
really.
my work, but we're having similar experiences.
Yeah.
And I would say, we were doing like this. We were pushing and motivating each other. And now in the last few years, it's almost like we're doing this, but it's closer, right? It's our stuff is overlapping. Where it used to be, this is your stuff, this is my stuff. Yeah. And now we've come to a point where it's like, no, we're not ever going to leave each other behind. We're always going to motivate each other to be better. But now we're seeing it on the same wavelength. Yeah. We're seeing it like as a collective.
Yeah. And I feel like we've actually accelerated that in pulling it closer together. It's accelerating kind of what those learnings are, what those teachings are. And again, because we're expressing to each other so often, that I think that also kind of builds up that acceleration, because I'm sharing my ahas with you, you're sharing your ahas with me. that feeds off each other, and it builds and it builds. And to be honest with you, and it's just a kind of realization that I came to, I'd say within the last year. I used to be so deathly afraid of leaving people behind, right? Of abandoning people, of letting them go, of closing down relationships. Like my real goal was, just continue to build this kind of tribe and keep everyone connected and make sure that everybody's just, in love and whatnot. Yeah. And at this point, in an idealized world, yes, we all have great loving connections and whatnot. Yeah. I can't control what other people are doing. No. I can only control me. And if that means that I'm moving forward and they're not coming, it's like I didn't leave you behind. You didn't accept the invitation. Yeah.
And I was going to say that in the examples that we're using, and just using us as that example, at any point, one of us could have been like, yeah, no, you know what? I want to stay here. Yeah. But it's never been, and I can't say we've tried to do that. Yeah. Because I don't think we've tried to, but we're not trying to do this one-upsman either.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a non-attachment that kind of comes with that too, in that I'm not leaving you behind. I'm just going to keep following this calling that I have. Yeah. And in that, part of that calling is trusting that it's all divine. Yeah. So even if this has to separate, that's also a part of the divine. I trust that. Yep. Where I think before it was like, well, no, I've got to do everything I can to make sure I can hold on to this. And now it's like, well, let me actually just loosen that. Yeah. It's not what I prefer. But if that is a part of the aligned plan, then that just is. And I remember Kyle Cease actually talking about that a lot, about, if you're worried about losing your relationship, allow yourself to feel, what does it feel like to let that go? Yeah. Allow yourself to feel all of that so you're no longer in resistance to it. And I used to think, well, that's crazy. Like, why would you want to manifest that into your life or whatever? But now I can understand that there's such a beauty that comes in just going, whatever it needs to be. Yeah. That's divine. I love it.
It's that trust piece, right? And we talk about this quite often, where it's like, these scenarios and situations come up, and I know I say it more often now, and it kind of irritates me, where it's like, we just have to trust that this is, whatever this is the right way. Yeah. And
then the ego comes in, and it's like, what do you mean this
can't be the right way?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it is the truth. It is all a part of this divine plan, and it really is about trusting all of it, and trusting your own expression through all of it. Yeah.
Well, and I was gonna say is, that's one thing that I would encourage everybody is don't die with that expression left in you. You know what I mean? Yes. Yeah, we've had a few conversations about this as well, where it's like, I don't want to leave this world without looking at some of these different perspectives of even things that I look back and I'm like, no, this is the way it's always been. Now I'm looking at those going, but why? Yeah. And I want to investigate why it's always been that way. Yeah. Express yourself. Yeah. Look at those things. And I call it silly sometimes, like our conversation last night about the names. It's like, but at least I'm expressing this. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Don't express yourself as much as you can, and as free and honest as you can. Yeah. And really look into all of those bits that need to be expressed. Yeah. If as a child you were, I don't know, for whatever reason, held back, you weren't allowed to play music, or you weren't allowed to get tattoos, go get a tattoo. Sing. Go to karaoke. do these things.
Yeah.
Just try them out. Hey, you know what? People may boo you off the stage, but you're expressing yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe, nobody likes your tattoo, but that's your expression. You own that.
Yeah.
And you can't look, like, at the end of the day, at the end of your journey here, you're not going to go, well, I wish I had.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where it's like, if you always wanted to dance, right? And then perhaps your parents couldn't afford it, or you didn't have the confidence to go and dance or whatever. To give yourself permission now to just dance is like awesome. And if it turns out you don't like it as much, also awesome. At least now you know that part of yourself to be able to go, oh, I am a dancer, or I can do swing dancing, but I don't particularly care for ballet, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You get to experience these different parts of yourself. Wayne Dyer actually used to say, don't die with your music left inside you. And there's a story that's behind that and whatnot. And after his passing, his daughter used to sing a song about the leader of the band, and he would have her come out on the stage and stuff, and she would sing this song, and then he'd tell the story about don't die with your music left inside of you. And after he passed and she sang it, it's like it took on such a deeper message to me, because he was someone who he expressed so much of his own divinity in this world. And I really don't feel like he died with any music left inside of him, which then takes me to another meme that I seen on Facebook. And this goes back a while ago, or actually it wasn't even a meme. It was Odin, who actually had seen a meme and he told it to me. But it was basically around, if you were to die tomorrow, and the only people that were around your deathbed were the dreams that you never went after, how full would the room be?
Yeah.
And it was like, even now I get kind of teary-eyed thinking of that, of how many dreams would be around me on my deathbed. How many things do I want to experience in this world that I haven't allowed myself to? And I feel like I really am a person who goes, I have a dream, and I'm just going to go do this thing, and I don't know why I'm doing this thing or whatever. I don't have a whole lot of restriction around that. But I know for some people, the room would be so crowded, there would almost be no room for their soul left in it, because they've just had all these ideas but have never actually expressed them or followed through with them.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm kind of saying, which is similar, right? It is look around the room. How many of these no's or you can't do's or whatever are there, and why are they there? Why do you hold this positionality or this,
Why do you believe this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why has it been this way? Have you seen it the other way?
Yeah.
And starting to look at all of those and going, okay, let's entertain this.
Yeah.
Why has it been this way? Okay, let's look at the good and let's look at the non-preferred.
Yeah.
But let's at least do that and not just, no, it's been this way, that's the way it's going to be, it's always that way.
Yeah.
But why? And go around the room and do that, right? It's okay. Even find that, I don't like mushrooms. Well, why don't you like mushrooms?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll try them again. Or if I was talking to my mother, it would be about eggs, right? Maybe I should go and try. Maybe one day I will try eggs again. We'll see.
Yeah. So my question to you today is, what have you been longing to express in this world? What dreams do you have inside of you? What old stories are you ready to let go of? And what is the new story that you're ready to start expressing? Honoring your truth, honoring yourself, honoring what it is that you are being called towards, I think is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves, but also to each other.
And I'm going to piggyback on the back of yours and say, what has it been that you haven't or you've expressed in a certain way, going back to what I was just saying, and why have you expressed it that way? Not that it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but where is that, and has it changed?
Yeah.
Just evolve, continue to express, and
I mean, isn't that what we're all here to do, is to just evolve?
Yes.
You know, to just constantly renew yourself. You know, our cells do it naturally, which means who you were 7 years ago is not who you are now. So don't hold yourself to any old standards. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us here again this week. We look forward to connecting with you all again next week. Have a great one.
Take care, folks.